Welcome to the Arctic Ambulance channel. I got this thing about 2 or 3 months ago. The engine that came with it has no compression on 2 cylinders, and a bore scope on number 7 shows that there's probably a little chip out of one of the corners of the piston. So rather than having to deal with that, I was luckily able to find pretty much a complete engine at the wreckers for 200 bucks. It has 2 flattened cam lobes, so I decided to just tear the whole thing down and rebuild it from scratch. Most of the updates so far have been posted to Instagram, but I've decided to start a YouTube channel. Today we got a flex hone in the mail, so we're going to hone the cylinders. First we're going to cover everything up and make sure that no oil and metal bits got in everything. So we'll get along with that. We got the majority of the important stuff covered: cylinder heads, pistons, crankshaft, base plate, some of the floor. If we have oil flying over there, I think we got bigger problems to worry about. Yeah, to cover up the inside of the block here, I'm gonna see if I can find a looks like a yogurt container should fit in there quickly, so I'm gonna eat a tub of yogurt real quick and then we'll get back to this. Couldn't really find a way to get that container to stick in there, so I just cut some cardboard and jammed it in there. Covers the lifter bores on the other cylinders, trying to minimize how much we have to clean up afterward. We'll do this bank and switch the cardboard and do the other side. Figuring out how to use this thing is going to be interesting. I clocked the drill in low gear with my digital tachometer, and it's right at about 500 RPM, which is at the low end for this size of hone, which is good. So we have 500 RPM, and then we need to do 60 to 120 strokes per minute. So because we're on the low end, I'm going to use 60, which conveniently is exactly 1 hertz. So on my phone, I've got a tone generator hooked up. To play a 1 hertz impulse to help me time everything. So then it'll be like that. And approximately 20 to 45 seconds per cylinder. So we're gonna go with 20 for now. We'll do 1 and we'll see how it turns out. I've got all the coolant holes as taped off as I can get them. Tape doesn't really stick on there because it's still kind of oily, but it's better than nothing. And I got this little guy to catch the fling off. So we will put a bit of oil on there. As far as oil goes, it says you can use either 10W30 or the flex hone oil. I got the actual flex hone oil, just why not? So it says, as far as instructions go, you need to use sparingly. Only a small amount is needed on cylinder walls to create a slurry. So reading that and watching some videos, you don't need to drench it in it. Like, you don't need, like, when you're boring out bores, you see just this gallons and gallons and gallons of lubricant just spewing into there. You don't need it like that. You need to make a slurry. So you just need enough to coat it. You don't need to douse it in it. You just need enough to coat it. So we will experiment with that. Let's get set up here. Got the speaker there. We'll open up the oil. Oh, it's really light. Interesting, interesting. Almost like water. It smells like gear oil. Okay, let's see here. Let's get the tone generator set up. Okay. We'll get a timer started for, let's do just 10 seconds to start to see how this timing all works. If 1 hertz is good enough per stroke. We'll start it at 15 so that I have time to get set up. So 15-second timer. Drill. Let's see how we're going to do this. Guess we just kind of pour it on. Oh. Okay, this isn't working. Yogurt container is going to come in handy after all. So we don't need to gob it in it, but we can use this to coat it with it. I was reading and it says that the first couple are more difficult than as you go on, because this gets loaded with oil and material and works properly after that. So this looks pretty wet. Whoa. Batteries died. It's the only thing I don't like about this camera is it goes through batteries like they're going out of style. Okay, let's see here. A bit more in the cylinders. Looks wet enough. Use sparingly, use sparingly. Okay, I think that's good. We will get the timer queued up. Let's just do a dry run first. So we need to have it spinning before we put it in. And keep it spinning till we get it out. Okay, I think we're good. Let's move this up to 20 and we'll start at 10 till it stops. Okay, here we go. Whoa. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Oiling looks perfect. Exactly how it looks like in the video. Okay. It's not flinging too much oil everywhere, which is handy. Let's wipe it off and see what it looks like. Okay, I'll put the cover on that so we don't spill the very expensive oil. Let's see here. I'm glad I put this tape here. Otherwise these coolant passages would be filthy. Oh my dude. That looks amazing. Yeah, buddy. Hallelujah. It looks like a brand new cylinder, I tell ya. Oh my goodness. Didn't do much for the carbon ring like I was hoping, but hey, cross hatching looks amazing. It's, I mean, what more could you ask for? Maybe a bit shallow, so I could speed up the insertion rate. It's not very deep, but it looks very uniform. I was reading up, and I forget what website, but I'll link it down below. Some guys did some tests with their race cars on different types of piston rings versus what grit and what type of abrasive on these hones to use. And they said that for plasma moly rings, which is what I'm getting, they recommend the 400 grit silicon carbide, which is what I got. I think it's silicon. Either silicon or aluminum oxide. Yeah, silicon. So it's not going to be very deep scratches because 400 is a pretty light abrasive, but I am very happy with that. Yeah. I was hoping it would take a bit more of this burn ring off, carbon ring or whatever it is, but you can't even feel it. It's slightly matte up here, you can kind of feel, but it's not bad at all. Didn't scratch the corner very much, just kind of, yeah, I am very pleased with that. Okay, so we'll speed up the insertion rate a little bit. We only did 10 seconds. Right, okay. So we have 20 more seconds to go on this guy. We'll speed up the insertion rate to get the angle a bit more, and we'll go from there. You can kind of see in there. I think that's a good angle. I'm going to read up a bit more, but that looks like 45. There's some conflicting stuff online. Some people say it's 45 from the deck face. Some people say it's 45 between the cross hatching. But yeah, there's still tons of oil in there, so that's why it looks pretty deep and black. But I'll clean that off, and we'll see what it looks like without the oil. Okay, so for some further research, the recommended angle is 45 degrees, included angle between the cross hatching, so then about 22.5 degrees from the deck surface. So I got a little piece of paper here, 45 degrees. So if we kind of line this up with one of the lines, it should more or less line up with the other scratches. So that's pretty close. Looks like it at least. So we kind of line up the bottom one there with that kind of one. Hold it. Yeah, I'm going to call that good. So then that means that if we fold this in half again, this is 22.5 degrees. Line that up with the top. That's right, bang on. Well, there you go. Let's do the rest of them. So I'm going to clean this side first before I move on to the next one, just so that I don't have to worry as much. It doesn't fling oil near as much as I was worried about. You look on the underside, and yeah, there's some splashing and splattering on the cardboard, but it's not all that bad. So that's good. I don't have to be as worried. You can see when you wipe it with the cloth, it gets black. So this is actually like metal dust from the honing process, like microscopic bits of metal. So you want to clean all that off. It says to not use solvents. It says to use warm or hot soapy water until the cloth comes out clean. And I got some lint-free cloths. And then lightly oil it to keep it from rusting. So I'll go get some hot water and we'll do that. Why is this tool special? Well, it accomplishes something called plateau honing. So once you get learning about surfaces and finishes and machining and stuff, you realize that it's incredibly complicated. Well, not complicated, but in-depth, and there's a lot of science behind it. You learn about a tool called a profilometer that measures the microscopic surface and measures the roughness of a surface. Now, a surface can be rough by have peaks and valleys in it that are sharp and stuff. And usually when you use sandpaper and stuff, that's what kind of surface it creates. Those are good, and that's kind of what you want. You don't want a perfectly smooth cylinder because you want to retain oil. You want to be able to keep oil on the cylinder walls to lubricate the rings. The problem is, with the peaks and valleys, the peaks are going to get worn off by the rings, which is the process of breaking in your engine, and that's one of the main things that you used to have to accomplish with engines when they were built back then, because that's how they honed the cylinders. Now, this accomplishes plateau honing, like I said. So imagine a flat surface like a broken in cylinder, with the valleys in it to retain the oil. This tool does that automatically. So it has the scratches to retain the oil, but the top of the surface is flat. So back to plateau honing. What I'm noticing just now that kind of confirms that idea on a macro scale is you look at the cylinders and you can see reflections in them, almost like it's a mirror finish. But then you look at them on angle and they're scratched. So that kind of, I don't know if this is right, but in my mind that would confirm that it's flat with scratches, because the flat parts are reflecting stuff, but then the scratches can still retain the oil, and that's why when you look at it on angle, it's matte, off angle, it's reflective, which is really cool. So I'd say that's pretty good. I got one more dry, clean one here. Give it a final going over. Make sure there's no black bits that are coming off. Cool. Very happy with that. Let us now dry all this here. And we'll take off this layer. Use paper tape to guard against water. Good idea, David. Good idea. Paper doesn't do anything when it gets wet, right? Right? At least it worked for now. Okay. See some little foamies and stuff in there, but it's not too bad. I'm going to have to clean this more thoroughly anyway when I lap the deck there. It actually looks pretty good. If I had a profilometer, like I was saying, that I could measure the actual roughness and see if this is good enough. Because it doesn't have like the milling marks like you'd see when it was just out of the factory. It looks pretty matte and flat. So this block was already remanufactured by International. You can see the sticker on the valve cover that says that, and it's got a remanufactured model number. So they may have already decked the block, I'm not sure, because it already has oversized pistons in it by 10 thousandths. So they may have already machined the block, so I don't know. Either way, it's not that hard. I just need to try and find a good flat straight edge to lap it, and then we're good. So this side's done. We'll flip her upside down, move the cardboard. I really got to get a power adapter for this thing, it's crazy. Anyway, we'll move this cardboard. Like I said, there's not much fling off, which is nice. I'm still glad I covered this though, because you don't want those little metal bits in the valve guides, or, sorry, in the lifter guides, or elsewhere. So we will wash this stuff off, little bits of soapy water. And we'll re-oil it and get set up for the next side. Lint-free, they said. I'm seeing an awful lot of lint for a lint-free cloth. Anyway, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here again. These are the honed cylinders. These are the ones that I still need to do. These ones look brighter because of the little scratches that are reflecting light back at you diffusely. These ones are the worn ones, so it's more specular reflection, which means that it's reflecting light away from you, which is really cool. Oh man, you look at them from this angle, and they're just gleaming. Oh, they're beautiful. Okay, we'll block off this side, and we'll get ready for the other blank.
Well, that about does it for today. I'm loving these results. It's incredible. I have to be honest, I've never honed a cylinder before, but I think these look okay. Everything I've read and researched tells me that this tool is pretty much the best one that you can get. Compared to those 3-stone ones, from everything I've read and researched, this is a really good tool. I'd highly recommend it. Again, down in the description is a website that I found that they've done some experiments on what grit and what type of abrasive to use for what type of rings you have. Stay tuned and we'll have more updates on the Arctic Ambulance coming up soon. Let's get here.